Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here. It's another day at Who's Telling the Truth. You know, it's kind of ironic, but today on the way down to the studio, there's been some wicked weather in Texas. And don't you know that the first clip we're going to show tonight is on wicked weather. Talk about being ironic. But anyway, I want to welcome everybody tonight. I want to welcome everybody from 350 Connecticut.org. And beautiful. And we got the graphic up there. I want to give a shout out to the people at 350. There's going to be a rally this coming Wednesday at 1 o'clock at the Capitol Building in Hartford. And the rally, the name of the rally is Say No More Fossil Fuels and False Solutions. Speaking of solutions, you know, we have some stills up, and one of them is we have a wind solution. So we're going to see if John's on his toes with the stills, and because we have... There we go. All right. So, John, just play with the stills. Flip back and forth to them so everybody can see. And everybody from 350Connecticut.com, you know, I always like to start the show with showing the American flag. And the reason why we show the American flag is we want to try to convey a message. So hopefully we're going to put up the first video. Beautiful. Look at that. All right, John's on the money. Now, guys, when you look at that flag, I want you to think of one thing. And what's that one thing? What's the one thing that people tend to forget when they see that flag blowing in the breeze? I mean, of course, they think of Chevrolet, mom, and apple pie, and they think of pride and patriotism. But the one thing that we want them to start thinking about, when you see that flag blowing in the breeze, I want you to think of free energy. That's right, folks. Free and beautiful, John. You did beautiful. And why aren't we capturing that energy? And why aren't we harnessing it? And like I tell everybody, and John, if you can come back to me, I tell people, when you see the flag blowing in the breeze, reach over to the person next to you and give them the old scooch. And you say to them, hey, what do you see? What does that flag represent when you see it blowing in the breeze? And we want to start a new fad. You know, just like when I was a kid, if you saw a car with one headlight, you'd punch the guy next to you and you'd say it was a padiddle. When my kids were growing up, when they saw a Volkswagen, they'd punch each other and they'd say, hey, look, a punch buggy. From now on, when you see a flag blowing in the breeze, I want you to give the business to the guy next to you. So we create awareness, and we see the flag blowing, and let's show the flag one more time, and you can't deny it. It's free energy. Let's start taking advantage of it. Now, guys, we have, like I said, you know, we have a war on weather, and it's driving me crazy. And our first video, we're really going to go, and we really want to try to show how global warming has gotten past the point of just being global warming. I mean, we got to stop it from becoming a catastrophe, and that's why, you know, we'd like to see everybody's support up in Hartford, because we got to stop burning this crap, folks. And I mean, there's so many things that we have to do, but this will be the first step. We all get together and we say no to the 1%, and we say no to the fossil fuel corporations, and we say no to the big corporations in general. Because the thing is, you know, they want to put the profits of the corporation before the people of the country. And a lot of times I'll say to people, you know, by putting carbon in the air, you know, you're killing your kids. Why do you hate your kids? And most people say, Rich, I don't hate my kids. The one thing I love most in the world is my kids. All right, good. Well, if you love your kids, get off your fat ass, Stop being a climate denier. Stick your nose in the internet for 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, you'll walk away and you'll say, hey, you know what? These guys have got something here. So we got some breaking news that we want to bring up. And John, you know, the funny thing is, when I was a kid growing up, whenever we saw breaking news on the TV, you'd go into a panic. And why? Because usually breaking news was bad news. A plane crash, a hurricane, a tornado, a natural disaster. Breaking news was always the worst thing that you ever wanted to see. Well, guys, you know how much I love to hate Fox News. And what drives me crazy is Fox News thinks that breaking news is when Fox News, breaking news, oh, it's going to be a revelation. What is it? Michelle Bachmann's going to run for another term. And you go, you got to be kidding me. You're playing games with me. That's breaking news? All right, now, as much as I love to hate Fox, I do have to give them some, I don't know what to say. But this is a weather report from Fox News. They never mention climate change, but they show the devastation. And what I want to know is, I mean, I appreciate the fact that they put this on the air, but what I want to know is, when are they going to finally call a spade a spade? When are they going to finally say, you know what? We have to admit that global warming is real, and we have to admit that we have to do something. So, folks, we're going to go to the first video tonight, and it's on Fox News. And it's Fox News showing the wicked weather and the war on weather, and the war on weather that we really want to start to wage. Because the thing is, let's face it, you know, there's so much ammunition that we could use with Fox News. We could just, you know, like I always say, you know, we could bada bitch slap them to death. You know, give them the old double reverse backhand bada bing bitch slap, you know, bada bing. All right, John, let's get ready to go to the first video. Video number 2, Fox News extreme weather.
2012 had more than its fair share of wild weather. Whether it was destructive, deadly, or just plain hot, extreme weather affected Americans in every part of the country. After a mild winter for most, spring roared in with tornadoes. Twisters tore through several states, wiping out communities and killing several people. A devastating EF4 tornado with winds of up to 200 miles per hour hit the Midwest. Henryville and Maryville, Indiana, completely obliterated. Heartbreaking stories of families ripped apart, like this tragic case of toddler Angel Babcock. Her family was killed when the twister struck their mobile home. Angel was found in a field near her home, but died later from her injuries. The summer months brought little relief, with scorching temperatures throughout much of the East Coast and Midwest, along with historic drought conditions. With soaring temperatures, communities struggled to maintain their water supplies. Farmers harvested just a fraction of their crops, and ranchers weren't able to feed their cattle. It was the worst drought in 50 years that plagued 2/3 of the nation. The drought conditions made it ripe for wildfires. The Waldo Canyon fire in Colorado raged for days, killing 2 people, destroying over 300 homes, and scorching over 18,000 acres. It was fueled by the dry brush and fierce winds. The unrelenting heat also proved deadly in the Mid-Atlantic and Midwest states after July storms killed at least 22 people across the area. It also knocked out power, leaving millions sweltering. Heat-related deaths climbed to at least 20 in the Chicago area. The Big Easy was not spared this year. Hurricane Isaac making landfall near New Orleans on the eve of the 7th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Isaac made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane. The slow-moving storm drenched low-lying coastal areas. Here's one of the hardest hit areas, Plaquemines Parish. It then moved slowly inland, inundating communities in Arkansas as it passed. An eerie sight in the skies over Phoenix as a massive dust storm called a haboob blows in. Winds gusting up to 40 miles per hour, bringing in dust and sand from the desert. 2012 also saw the birth of a superstorm, a devastating hurricane that collided with a powerful cold system from Canada that slammed to the northeast. Sandy made landfall in South Jersey in late October, flooding beach communities, submerging highways, and washing iconic boardwalks into the ocean. New York City's downtown skyline fell dark. In Breezy Point, Queens, homes went up in flames. Areas of Long Island, Staten Island filled with debris. Sandy claimed at least 100 lives and changed the landscape of the Jersey Shore. And just a week later, another blow when the area was blanketed by snow, sleet, and rain from a nor'easter. According to FEMA, vicious heat waves, wildfires, hurricanes, and severe storms will cost this year alone more than $100 billion in repair costs. In New York, I'm meteorologist Janice Dean, Fox News.
Guys, like I said, we always let the clips play through so that the people that provided them, and everything I show you comes right off of YouTube, so that the people that provided the clips get their just desserts, their just rewards. And at the end of that clip, you saw a reference to Jesus, you know? I don't want to belittle anybody, but you know, why didn't Jesus help? Why didn't Jesus help those people in Staten Island? Why didn't Jesus help the people in Jersey? You know what I mean? These, you know, you're going to start playing with this faith card stuff and it gets a little rough, you know? So don't try to pray away global warming. The next time you want to do something for global warming, look it up. Start to learn about it. Start to teach your kids about it. Start to get with the program and don't hide behind the fundamentalist crap. You know, some people drive me nuts. They can believe in things that don't exist. But when it comes to something that's beating on their front door, they can't admit it's real. Some people have problems, folks. We have to stop the nonsense. Now, the next clip is from Fox News in the morning. I love starting my days with Fox News. Watch what they try to do. Watch how riled they get up because SpongeBob, a cartoon, talks about global warming. How dare they talk about global warming? We don't want to hear about global warming. You're gonna pollute the minds of our children. We don't want to teach them what's real and what's factual. We want to give them fairy tales. All right, John, before I go off the edge, let's have clip number 3.
Fox News has decided that they've got a new war. You know, they've had things like the war on Christmas that they invented to protect Christmas. Well, actually, this time they're on the offense. They're going on a war against SpongeBob SquarePants. And to be fair, he had it coming. Those pants are awfully square. First, Gretchen Carlson starts by saying she doesn't get it.
Well, we all know that SpongeBob is popular with the kids, and for the life of me, I still keep trying to figure out why it is.
I'm with you. I don't get it.
It's a
sponge in the ocean.
You know, my kids watch limited TV, but every time they choose that show, I'm like, why? But anyway, it's hard to even follow sometimes. Anyway, now maybe that'll be a good thing.
Kind of like Fox and Friends, a little hard to follow sometimes. Why are you attacking SpongeBob? They're like, I don't get it. It's a sponge in the ocean. Yeah, it's a kid's show. Okay, so, well, why are they angry at him? Because they realize SpongeBob is not yellow, he's green. He's an environmentalist worried about global warming. Teaching that to our kids. How dare they? Go ahead, go get him.
SpongeBob is talking a lot about global warming, and he's only looking at it from one point of view.
SpongeBob, you're wasting me precious carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide?
I'm pumping it into the atmosphere, boy. Thanks to global warming, the temperature will soon go through the roof, and then we'll have an endless summer.
Clearly, Nickelodeon is pushing a global warming agenda. And while there is no disputing the fact that the Earth is getting a little warmer, the big question is it man-made, or is it just one of those gigantic climactic phases that we're going. For a while we're cold, and then we get warmer, and then we get colder and warmer. Which one is it?
Which one is it? I can't figure it out. I wish SpongeBob would have a more balanced approach. I wish he would be fair and balanced. He could say 97% of the scientists in the world believe that global warming is man-made. On the other hand, the 3% paid by the oil companies think it is not man-made. Why is the oil company point of view not represented in that cartoon? I am disgusted, shocked, and chagrined. You know what? They need to attack this a little bit more. Go.
The science on both sides, there are a lot of scientists who say it's this, others say it's that.
Right, it's unproven science. And again, this is public education system that we all pay our tax dollars for. And the SpongeBob book says that it's a man-made problem that requires human intervention.
They're presenting it as fact.
As fact. Meanwhile, the schools there, I mean, we're talking about 14th in the world in reading, 17th in the world in science, 25th in math. So we're forcing an issue that is not yet proven. We can't even teach our kids the adequate math, reading, and science at this point.
The number of people who believe that global warming is man-made has dropped by over 20 points recently. Why? Because you've got people like Fox News Channel that are in the business of trying to create confusion. As Steve Doocy says, some people say this, some scientists say this, and some say that. He doesn't tell you that 97% of the scientists say that it's man-made, and the 3% say that it's not. Now, when you hear that fact, all of a sudden it's a little bit clearer, right? But they don't want to present that fact. They just go, 50-50, 50-50. But what I loved is the irony of that new guy saying, you know what? They're not even teaching science and math right. But this is science. And 97% is also math. It's not 50-50, it's not this and that. So you be the judge. Who do you think is doing real propaganda? SpongeBob or Fox News?
You know, they can't be this stupid. I mean, it's just not physically possible to be able to clothe yourself and get on TV and say the stuff that they do. I mean, they got to be laughing all the way to the bank. Either that or they got to be the stupidest son of a bitches that ever walked the face of the earth. One or the other. There's no in between. There can't be any in between. Now we're going to watch the chief bitch over at Fox News, Stuart Varney. And this guy, I'm telling you, this guy stoops. It's unbelievable how he abandons everything, and all he wants to do is promote the Republican agenda, the agenda of the 1%, the agenda of the fossil fuel company. Now, I want you to watch who he's got on as his guest in the background, and I want you to notice what institution is written behind him. The Cato Institute. Haven't we heard about them somewhere before? Oh, yeah. From the Koch brothers exposed. The Cato Institute, the Heritage Foundation. They're all out there. All your think tanks that want to convince the simple folk that global warming is a hoax. And believe me, they're doing a pretty good job. Now watch Stuart Varney. Watch how he passively massages the answers that this guy gives you. Then we're going to stop it, and we're going to show you a climate warmist who just rips Stuart Varney a new a-hole. I mean, we're going to have fun with this. So let's watch the beginning, and then we'll watch the transformation. John, roll it.
Threaten you? Thousands of hacked emails showing global warming scientists blasting researchers who do not buy into their doomsday scenarios. One of the scientists threatening to, and I quote now, beat the crap out of my next guest. Pat Michaels from the Cato Institute joins me now. Pat, welcome to the program.
Hey, I'm still here.
Yes, you are. Congratulations. Now, these are emails from within the climate change community, and I want to just quote one of them. Here it is. I'm going to put it up on the screen. This email says, we can't account for the lack of warming at the moment, and it is a travesty that we can't. That implies that the evidence for global warming is rather weak, or that some evidence is being suppressed therein. What do you say?
What's going on with that quote is Kevin Trenberth from the National Center for Atmospheric Research is saying that our computer models did not anticipate the fact that it hasn't warmed for the last 10 years or so. And in private, to all his colleagues who call themselves the climate community, he says, it's a travesty. If you interview him in public, he's not going to say that. And that's the nature of what's going on in these emails.
There is another email, isn't there another email where they're talking about a trick, and someone is boasting of using a statistical trick to make the warming look steeper in recent years?
Yes, it was a phrase called hide the decline. And Phil Jones, who wrote that from the University of East Anglia, has said, yes, indeed, he did write that. He said it didn't know what it referred to. He knows darn well what it referred to because he's a co-author on a lot of papers who use this data that he is referring to. It's tree ring data that diverges from the global temperature around 1960. And in order to make it look better, they decided not to extend the tree ring data.
I just want to move on real fast to the threat.
Yeah.
Let me quote that one. I'm really sorry that you have to go through all this stuff, Phil. Next time I see Pat Michaels at a scientific meeting, I'll be tempted to beat the crap out of him. Very tempted. Now, how do you feel about that? You're on the receiving end of this threat. How do you feel?
Yeah, Ben Sanders not a small guy either. That shows that there's a very, very thin skin. All these emails reveal a remarkable thin skin, and that tells me that something's very wrong. The real problem here is the emails showing these guys trying to intimidate the editors of the major scientific journals and succeeding. In other words, keeping me and my friends and my colleagues from publishing in the refereed literature.
But the bottom line here,
serious.
Pat, if you look across the spectrum of all these hacked into emails, do they show that some in the climate community are beginning to have second thoughts about whether global warming exists or not? Are they having doubts?
It's not whether warming exists or not. It's the seriousness of it and the threat that is presented by people who merely say, you know, it might not be the end of the world. By the way, the other side's going to say this story is going to go away. No, it's not. There is so much in here. It's like Watergate. Things are going to come up and up and up and up for the next year.
What are you going to do about it?
I'm just going to sit here and read agog. I first thought it was nothing then my jaw dropped, and wound up on the floor on Friday night.
So you got these, you were advised of what was going on, you started to read them on Friday night. Are there literally thousands of these emails? Is that
there are, because many of them are long streams of emails. Yeah, there's thousands. There are things like attempts to get the University of Wisconsin to get rid of my PhD thesis because somebody said X was wrong with it. Well, I looked at it, and indeed what was alleged wasn't even true. And this was emailed to some of the biggest climate scientists in the world, trying to take away my degree. This is ridiculous.
Okay, it's hard stuff. Pat Michaels, a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us today. We do appreciate it. Thank you. All right, now my next guest says...
Pause now. Pause.
Okay, now, you noticed how refined and composed Stuart Varney was in this past clip. Now watch how he loses his cool when he gets confronted by a climate warmist, and watch how this guy, now you got to remember, these are from the emails, the East Anglia emails that they said created doubt. So now we're going to play the second part and watch Stuart Varney. He's going to get bitch slapped to smithereens. Hit it, John.
Get those emails. Here's the deal. Global warming is a very real global problem. Dan Weiss from the Center for American Progress. Dan, welcome to the program. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Stuart.
Look, why, if these emails suggest hiding some evidence, the evidence being that the Earth has not warmed in the last 10 years, why put these emails out? Why are you hiding them if global warming does exist? Sounds like it's an attempt to suppress what's really going on.
Well, first of all, Stuart, as you know, those emails were from hacking into the computers by, we believe, some Russian source. They haven't even been authenticated. There's a more fundamental point here.
Dan, do you contest them? Do you contest them?
There's a more fundamental point.
Are thousands of emails a pack of lies?
I'm not involved in cybersecurity, so I don't know if they're authentic or not.
Are you questioning their authenticity?
It's unknown at this time. But here's the more fundamental point,
The
Stuart.
argument, no. The fundamental point here is that we have evidence here, thousands of emails, which you may or may not contest, which suggest that inside the climate community there is a great deal of threat going on, threatening the editors of magazines and threatening other people who disagree with their point of view, to the point where it raises the doubt that there is unity amongst the climate community, that there is indeed global warming. That's it.
Stuart, Stuart, may I have a chance to speak, please?
Yes.
The greatest threat isn't about these emails or to Pat Michaels. The greatest threat is that global warming pollution will continue unabated and cause irreversible harm to our planet. Let me read you a quote from the U.S. climate change program started by President George W. Bush. It says, quote, global warming is unequivocal and primarily human-induced. That is what the threat is. It's not whether or not these emails that may or may not be authentic
Why
or that may or may not be
okay.
altered.
So you are questioning the
really
authenticity of the emails. You are questioning the authenticity of the emails, and then you're saying that they are not relevant, even though they attempt to hide evidence that the globe is not warming for the last 10 years. Look at this. We can't account for the lack of warming at the moment, and it is a travesty that we can't. Now, you may or may not contest whether that's true, but that is what we've got on our screen. That's what's being said.
Okay,
Those
Stuart,
are emails. They directly refute your point.
Stuart, if you want to have me on, let me respond. You're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. Here are the facts. The U.S. Global Warming Program says global warming is unequivocal and human-induced.
This is not an argument about whether global warming exists. It's not an argument about whether global warming exists. It is an argument about whether you people should be threatening those who disagree with you.
Reported out a number of impacts. Today, the Associated Press reported out a number of impacts of global warming that are happening right now. Sea level rise, up 1.5 inches. Our average temperatures up nearly 0.5 degrees over the last dozen years. We've got reservoirs in the Southwest that were full 10 years ago and now are only half full.
Dan,
we've got on and on. The number of acres burned in wildfires have doubled.
You're in retreat.
Okay, that's the threat, Stuart. Not whether or not these emails are authentic or are complete.
All right, from my point of view, here's what I see. I see you guys in retreat. I see that the Copenhagen meeting is a bust, and I think you'll admit that. Cap-and-trade legislation has been pushed well into next year and may completely disappear. Public opinion is beginning to run against you, and there is a very strong feeling that your argument and your support has peaked and is going into reverse. I think you're being very defensive here.
I'm defending the science. You're talking a bunch of emails that may or may not be authentic or may be unadulterated. Here's the thing, Stuart. A group after science group, the American Academy of Advancement of Science, the National Academy of Sciences, our own science program started by George W. Bush, the International Panel on Climate Change, all of them come to the same conclusion. Then you have a bunch of emails that may or may not be authentic, questioning very small parts of the whole thing.
Well, Dan,
the reality is, the planet is warming. The question is, do we want to act or not?
Thank you very much indeed for joining us, but, you know, I don't know whether we can really question the authenticity of those emails. We had just had Pat Michaels on. He was threatened in those emails.
Did Pat Michaels write any of those emails?
He was threatened in them. Are you saying that it was a lie?
Have you gone to each of the people who authored the emails?
Let's have it out here. Are you saying flat out that they were a lie, and that's why you won't respond directly to them?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
I don't know whether or not they were. No one has. The
then you cannot dismiss them.
Have not come forward and say, yes, I wrote that.
Thousands of them revealed. And you cannot dismiss that as being inauthentic.
They were by Russian cyber criminals hacking into a computer. How do we know that they're authentic?
There goes your credibility, I'm
We have no way to know.
Dan,
the real threat isn't the emails. The real threat is global warming pollution.
Pity that Copenhagen meeting didn't get off the ground. Dan, a pleasure. Thank you very much, Dan.
It hasn't started yet. It's scheduled to start in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it won't achieve a thing. Nothing at all, and you know it. It's a bust. Got some spare cash? Then Uncle Sam wants you. And it's like eBay for big-time rich people, millionaires, ahead of tax hikes on the way. How the mega-rich are...
Okay. You know, Stuart Varney is supposed to represent Fox News. If that guy worked for me, I'd throw him out on his ear. Or... if I wanted him to deceive everybody, I'd give him a raise. What do you think we should do? I mean, isn't it quite obvious he doesn't... You know, the best way to confuse a Republican, the easiest and best way to confuse them is to use facts. They can't understand. They have no concept of reality. And when you deal with facts, you throw them a curve. Remember how I said each week we want to take one little thing that we can really hang our hats on as definite proof about climate change? Well, that one thing is that 97% of the climate scientists agree that global warming is happening. Now, if you want to stick with the 2% that are deniers, that's fine. You know what I mean? But understand who you're sticking with. All right, now, we want to put more salt in the wound with Stuart Varney. And I thought we had another clip from Ed Bagley, but obviously I screwed this up. But we're going to go to number 6 now. And this is the IPCC scientist, Dr. Kevin Trenberth, that Stuart Varney was just mocking. And we're going to hear from a guy, and this guy that Stuart Varney's going to have on is Myron E. Bell. And he's from the Competitive Enterprise Institute. If you go and look at their website, they feature free markets and limited government. He's the Director of Energy and Global Warming Policy, and he's the Director of the Freedom Act and the Cooler Heads Coalition. So anyway, we're going to play the actual scientist whose emails were hacked and who they tried to perpetuate this fraud that the data was manipulated. The data wasn't manipulated. Here's the facts, folks.
I think the science is very clear in global warming. What these statements are, we'll go down the path and see what happens in peer-reviewed studies. Those are the key words here, Stuart. Peer-reviewed studies. If these scientists have done something wrong, it will be found out and their peers will determine it. I don't think geologists should write papers about being an actor or a newscaster, nor should... don't get your information from me, folks, or any newscaster. Get it from people with PhD after the name. Peer-reviewed studies are the keywords. And if it comes out in peer-reviewed studies that there are some... cooking the books, that will come out.
Well, you know, Senator Inhofe has a list of 700 climate scientists who say this global warming, they've got problems with the whole theory of global warming. I put it to you.
There's not 700 climate scientists. There's weathermen and other people in there. There are some climate scientists.
The science is not in.
It is in.
No.
Stuart, quit saying that.
No, the debate is not over, sir.
Peer-reviewed studies. Go to Science Magazine, folks, Nature Magazine. Go to somebody you trust, National Geographic. Don't get it from you or me. Don't get it from Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck.
No.
Scientists, people with PhD. Weathermen, not weathermen. Science, climate.
Listen to this. I had a Princeton professor on my program.
What does he have his degree in?
Look, he's a physicist.
Okay, a physicist?
He's a Princeton professor.
I want people who are PhDs in climate science.
Who's questioning
a climate scientist isn't going to tell you the difference between a quark and a boson. He's not going to tell you that.
So there's no question whatsoever. Absolutely, no question in your mind.
You can be skeptical.
Right. The debate is
skeptical, but not denial. You guys are
over. The debate is over.
On global warming, the debate is very clear. It's out there in the scientific community. Read peer-reviewed studies. Peer-reviewed. That's all you need to do. Don't get it from you or me.
Bada bing! Now that's the way you do it. You noticed how he looked him right in the eye and he didn't let him back off. When he said, I have a scientist from Princeton. What kind of scientist is he? He's a physics. He's got a PhD. We don't care. You don't care if he's got a PhD in physics. We want to hear from climate scientists. Case closed. And he held his feet to the fire. He didn't let him escape. And that's why we have all these question marks around us. So that everybody does the same thing. When somebody, where did you get your information from? I got it from a Princeton professor. Oh, he must be unbelievably smart. What does he study? Physics. What does he know about climate science? Nothing. So you're getting your information from an idiot that's got a PhD. Now, let's go and let's watch the scientists with the PhD when they try to show them about the climate denial, and you're going to see this guy bitch slaps them into eternity. Ready? Hit it, John.
Hackers broke
broke into the email accounts of several prominent scientists who are working on climate change, apparently as an attempt to embarrass them. But what they reveal is raising eyebrows. Some suggest that the research has been manipulated and that those questioning the effects of climate change have been silenced. Well, some of the scientists participated in the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. One from the head of the Climate Research Unit reads, "I can't see either of these papers being in the next IPCC report. Kevin and I will keep them out somehow, even if we have to redefine what the peer review literature is." Well, the fallout is rocking the scientific community. Kevin Trenberth is a climatologist for the U.S. Center for Atmospheric Research. His emails were among those that were breached. Myron Ebell is Director of Energy and Global Warming Policy for the Competitive Enterprise Institute. Both join us now. Kevin, first of all, your emails were among those hacked. That must feel pretty outrageous, huh?
That's right. It was an illegal act, and all of this stuff has been dumped out there. And I will say that there's a tremendous amount of cherry picking. There's a great volume of email, and in my case, I stand by all of the emails that are there. I'm very proud of what we've done.
But not necessarily in your own case, but among some of the emails that were hacked and posted, some of them don't necessarily support the consensus view that global warming is real. Would you agree?
No, I don't agree
is
with that
portrayed
at all.
in some of
I
these
think
emails?
there are certainly disputes among scientists and how to deal with the so-called skeptics and so on, but not about the science itself. The science itself stands, and of course it's not dependent upon a few individuals. There are hundreds of scientists involved around the world that are doing climate change science.
All right, Myron, was this hacking and posting of these emails done for political purposes, do you think?
I don't know, but you keep calling it hacking. There's no evidence that it was hacking. It may have been a whistleblower who was just simply disgusted by what
there was hacking
he or she saw.
from supposedly from Russia.
There is no evidence either way on that. Now,
at any rate, the emails got out there.
Yeah, look, I don't want to pick on Kevin Trenberth in particular. I think he's not one of the sort of main gang leaders here, but he's part of a gang that I think is being revealed from these emails, but even more from the data files, as they are cooking the data. And cooking is a technical word meaning manipulating and falsifying the data. They have been doing this for years, and it is clear by looking at the data files that they have been doing that. Now, I'm sorry, these people have already been revealed as not having any honor. Now they're being revealed as not having a sense of shame. They're just trying to brazen it out. If they had any honor, they would come forward, like Phil Jones would come forward and say, "I'm sorry, you're right, I've been caught with the goods. I've been denying requests to share the data for years when I knew it had tremendous problems in it. I knew we were making things up. Fudge factors appear continually in these data files. We didn't know how to deal with it, but I wouldn't admit that there were problems with it. This has been going on for years, and it is absolutely it's so shameful that I can't believe anybody would try to brazen this out. They should be talking to their lawyers. They should.
Well, that is certainly a shameful comment. I mean, that is totally wrong with regard to everything that Phil Jones has done. He has tremendous integrity, and the publications are very open about all of the problems with the data and how it has been treated.
Kevin,
your charges are just completely false.
This is simply not true, Dr. Trenberth. This is simply not true. There are emails that show he was denying Freedom of Information Act requests in Britain. When he knew he had the data later, he said, "I've deleted the data. I've destroyed it. It's been damaged. It's irrecoverable." And yet he was saying, "I'm not going to answer these."
That's a misrepresentation also in both cases.
It is not.
There are emails. There are emails that just seem a little bit, I guess, childish might be one way to put it. Here's one of them. It says, "Next time I see Pat Michaels at a scientific meeting, I'll be tempted to beat the crap out of him. Very tempted." I mean, there is not this unanimity of opinion regarding climate change, Dr. Trenberth.
But that sort of thing is unfortunate. It's not a comment that I made. And indeed, on personal emails, I'm sure you will find that kind of thing, but that doesn't undermine the integrity of the science at all. And the charges with regards to the Freedom of Information Act are really quite flawed, because a lot of the data are proprietary, and Phil Jones does not have the option of passing it on.
All right.
And so, and no data have been deleted. Let me assure you of that, unless it was a long time ago for reasons that had nothing to do with any malicious intent.
Kevin
It was
Trenberth
simply
and Myron
because there
Ebel.
was, in the 1970s, there wasn't very much storage, and you had to make decisions about which data you kept and which you let go by the board.
We have to say goodbye. Kevin Trenberth, Myron Ebel. We will have more on our website, foxnews.com/happening now, if you want to get more information. It's a little bit confusing, but it is rocking the scientific world.
Did you see what Myron Ebel said to Dr. Kevin Trenberth? He said he wasn't a man of honor. And then he said, oh no, not you. I'm talking about the gang you're with. You know what? Honor is the most important thing in a man. Integrity. Without either of them, you ain't a man. And I tell you what, if I would have been next to that guy, I would have spit in his face and I would have kicked him in the Galaducci's. No uncertain terms, because he's not a man. When you insult a man's honor, you're not a man. And when I told you about about his website, the Competitive Enterprise Institute. Competitive, these guys don't want to compete about nothing. They've got the golden goose, which is oil, and they want to keep burning the golden goose to kill your kids. Why? So they can have more and everybody else can have less. All right, now I think we proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that these guys are evil. I mean, the way they go about doing their business, they're evil. Now we're going to flip the coin and we're going to show you some nice stuff. I've been promising to show you about BrightSource. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually finish the stuff that we wanted to finish the last show. So we're going to start with an Australian clip, and you're going to see the technology that BrightSource is going to use, and then we're going to go to the BrightSource videos, and eventually we're going to end up in Haiti with the solar fish plant that you're going to fall in love with. All right, John.
The problem with renewable energy is the lack of continuous supply. Solar power only when it's sunny, wind power only when it's windy, and wave power when the sea's not too rough. I'm Russell Beard and I've come to South Spain to visit Gemma Solar, the first solar tower power station that can produce electricity 24 hours a day. But in order to get a real sense of the scale of this place, I need to get a little bit higher. Samuel!
Wow, my heart is in my mouth a little bit, but it's incredible. And I can't believe I'm flying this plane. Sam just spotted the tower up ahead, so he said just point at the tower and carry on. Okay, here's Gemma Solar. You can see it just below us now. Thousands of these heliostats, these revolving mirrors. It's just amazing. Feels like we're looking into the future.
Photovoltaic is like one of the fastest growing energy sources in the world at the moment, but these aren't photovoltaics, are they?
No, not at all. They are not photovoltaics at all.
So these
Those
are just
glass, are mirrors, and they are reflecting the light on top of the tower.
The reflected sunlight from the 2,650 heliostats combined can generate enough electricity to power 25,000 homes, but only if they're all pointing in exactly the right spot.
Santiago's brought along one of these miniature parabolic mirrors, which I guess is almost like a perfect scale model of your solar tower.
Yes, I mean the tower looks like in the middle of a circle of heliostats, and every heliostat is like, taking a different angle to reflect the light on top of the tower and then to concentrate all the energy on a single spot.
So let me try.
It's going, it's going.
Oh wow, you can see it catching fire.
It's so sensitive, like one tiny degree out and it stops burning. I mean, this must be the challenge that you're facing.
Exactly, I mean, exactly what we have to be doing. I mean, we have to be very precise in moving the heliostats in the right position to concentrate the light there.
Sunlight is reflected from each heliostat onto a central receiver at the top of the tower. Sodium and potassium nitrate salts are pumped from the cold salts tank up to the receiver, where they absorb the concentrated solar thermal energy, reaching temperatures of up to 565 degrees. The heated salts are then pumped down to the hot salts tank, where they can be stored in a molten state or used to generate electricity via the heat engine.
This is the hot molten salt tank that contains the molten salts at 565 degrees. This is like a big battery, but it's a thermal battery. It's not an electrical battery. In fact, the energy which is accumulated here is enough to continue operating the turbine for 15 hours at full speed.
So this is what distinguishes this place from other solar tower generators around the world. It's actually that storage.
Exactly.
Being able to store energy this way means that solar power can, for the first time, be provided 24 hours a day, not just when the sun's shining.
This is the vessel in which the water becomes steam. Inside you have water at maybe 500 degrees centigrade and already 100 bars of pressure.
This is incredible. So what Santiago's telling us is, despite how futuristic this all looks, the actual business end where they create the electricity is much the same as any other coal-fired or even nuclear power plant. So see, it's a steam-driven power plant. Wow. Wow, this is what I'm talking about. Now this looks like a power station.
And it is.
This technology has been around for hundreds of years, yeah?
Yep.
And so it's really out there is the only sci-fi part of this building. By the time the power comes down from the molten salts, we're talking about good old-fashioned steam turbines, and that's what we can hear now. And you can even see it coming out of the little chimney at the top.
We are going to be reducing our costs, but also due to the fact that the oil prices are going up will make it impossible to burn gas to produce electricity. And then our plants will continue to be delivering cheap and clean energy to our children, let's say.
Okay, now that was in Australia. Now we're going to show you a plant, virtually the same plant, that's going to go online in the Mojave Desert virtually any day now. John, roll it.
Bright Source Energy and its subsidiary, Luz 2, planted a seed in the desert. That seed, a breakthrough for harnessing solar power, has taken root as a working plan for the future of sustainable energy. The plan continues to grow today as Bright Source develops commercial solar thermal power plants to provide large utility companies with clean solar energy. Using its proprietary technology, Bright Source's plants will provide a cost-effective alternative to burning fossil fuels. Deep in Israel's sun-drenched Negev desert, at the Bright Source Luz 2 Solar Energy Development Center, thousands of motor-driven mirrors follow the sun as it moves across the sky, throughout the day and throughout the seasons. Solar power plants harness the sun much like a camper uses a magnifying glass to start a fire. The small, flat mirrors reflect the sun's rays onto a boiler atop the central tower. When the concentrated sunlight strikes the boiler's pipes, it heats the water inside to 550 degrees Celsius, nearly 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, thus achieving a much higher operating efficiency than other solar power plants. In a commercial plant, the steam is piped from the boiler to a standard turbine, where electricity is generated. From here, transmission lines carry the power to homes and businesses. And nothing is wasted. In order to conserve precious desert water, Bright Source uses air cooling to convert the steam back into water. The water is then returned to the boiler in a closed loop. Bright Source's plants cost less to build and operate more efficiently than other solar thermal plants. Each mirror in a Bright Source plant can power one home. A plant the size of the Solar Energy Development Center could produce 1.5 megawatts, enough to power 1,100 homes and reduce carbon emissions equivalent to taking 400 cars off the road. Bright Source's first commercial plant will generate 100 megawatts. Our Ivanpah complex in Southern California will generate 400 megawatts. And our contracts with Pacific Gas and Electric will generate up to 900 megawatts. Today, we're actively developing over 4.2 gigawatts of solar power, enough for 3.2 million homes and the removal of 1 million cars from the road. The beautiful thing about the new age of solar energy is that every day the sun shines down 5,000 times the amount of energy needed by the entire planet. BrightSource can harness this power efficiently and reliably. And that's how a seed in the desert blossoms into a bright future.
Wait, folks, it gets better. Because when you see how it benefits the people that live in the community and how it's going to benefit everybody for years and years to come. Roll it, John.
My name is Cole Masters. I'm a lead technician here at Ivanpah.
I'm Al Fiero. I'm here in my role as a Tech 1.
My name's Stephen Sewell. I'm a Tech 4.
I'm Stacy Browning. I am in operations and maintenance tech here at the Ivanpah Solar Plant.
This is a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind solar thermal power plant, definitely the largest one of its kind in the world.
We're taking the sunshine, we're reflecting it off of mirrors, right onto a boiler.
Heating up the boiler to produce the steam to turn the turbine, powering approximately 170,000 homes.
We've brought in some incredible individuals, extremely talented from all different walks.
I work for NRG at the Limestone Coal Plant in Texas. I've always been interested in new technology and making electricity a little cleaner.
I was a pump and valve tech on various nuclear power plants.
In the Navy, I was a mechanical operator in a nuclear plant. There was a lot of similar systems, so this is all really familiar to me, but there are people that this is just really new to.
I was a landscaper for 42 years. Barstow College offered the opportunity for us to be trained, and for the positions of Tech 1 is an opportunity of a lifetime.
We're looking for people that could pull together as a team, each one bringing a unique set of technical skills in order to perform a large, more cohesive workforce.
Rising out of the California desert is a project that's really going to be a marvel of the modern age, and that every American will be proud of what the American worker did in building it.
Look at around you. We're using solar to turn a turbine, to make power for houses. It's great.
Here to make a difference, hopefully for NRG and for the bigger picture for everybody else, future generations.
Being able to do solar thermal out here in the desert where the sun is plentiful, it's really exciting stuff.
Guys, the future is here. Roll it. This is the feel-good part.
The needs in the area are so big. We need energy. There's no going around it.
In a country like Haiti, the grid only touches maybe 15% of the population, only works for about 4 hours a day. You have no idea how important a little bit of electricity is.
Si nous pas gagner électricité, nous pas capable de faire fonctionner. C'est vraiment important pour nous panneaux solaires là.
NRG Energy commits to invest $1 million to install solar panels to power water pumps, schools, and street lighting in the municipality of Buchan-Carré.
The commitment that NRG made with an NGO called SELF is to create a solar community in a town called Buchan-Carré. We'll also use solar power for their principal industry, fish farming.
We provide communities with the cage, the feed, and the fingerlings. Then they will produce the fish. They will sell some of the fish at a reasonable price to the hospital, and the remaining 20 to 30% will be sold by street vendors. Once we get the energy, we can scale up the production for fish.
Même qui pas finement même avec eux, mais il y a approprié tout.
It'll improve agriculture output. It'll make life better for families that would otherwise not have access to healthcare, education, energy. This integrated model of development really is about breaking this cycle of poverty and disease. It's going to work, I have no doubt.
We asked for the design for the arrays. They're supposed to be, I believe, 3 meters over the water level of the tanks. So you can manipulate your long tools, the nets, etc., without hitting the panels from the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
The difficulty is then that the structure itself is extremely high.
With energy, we allow the people to take care of themselves, empower them economically.
Et moins là pour aider nous, mais c'est décision nous-mêmes. Sélection A, il doit être juste pour communauté.
Face avec énergie qu'on va installer au niveau l'école.
C'est important pour ta gagner son bon business qu'elle t'a pied. Moi-même l'aime te ça, tellement c'est souffrir, me venir acheter un petit panneau soleil.
Bon travail. We're near completion on most of these site analysis.
Nous allons attendre qu'on craque et puis pour nous prévoir autre chose, qu'on commence depuis qu'on est là.
We have laid the foundation so that within the next year, we're going to make a big difference.
The logistics are challenging in a place like here. Those posts are 500 pounds each. The panels, the inverters are very delicate equipment, and those bumpy roads are really not the ideal place for transportation.
We have a great crew, the Haitian electricians that we work with here. You'll see us raising these posts by hand. Yeah, it's a slow process, but we're getting there.
Premier travail au fait déjà, il y a une base pour installer panneaux solaires là qui est déjà là.
After almost a year of calculations and assessment, we hope we'll be finished by tomorrow.
As you're driving along the road, all of a sudden you see those blue tiles and then, wow. Now we have to make it very productive.
Great. Looks nice.
NRG has donated 400 solar panels. In 2 years, we went for a mere 100,000 pounds of fish to over 1 million pounds of fish.